Thanks, Sophia. So I suppose we're going to go to the floor now. One of the fantastic things I think about this panel is when you look at some of the context that people are working in, there is a danger of being fatalistic about how SDG16 can make a difference. And we've seen here in all of their examples how it is making a difference and things are happening. So I think that's really fantastic. So please, questions from the floor, questions, not statements if you can, and as quick as possible so we can get as many people as possible. Thank you. Okay. And then here.
Hello, I'm Ed Almador from the Partnership for Transparency. I have a simple question for the panel, and that is, why did they fail to engage the international financial institutions? The World Bank and the Regional Development Banks and the IMF all have policies which encourage action by CSOs under SDG 16. This is all documented in a study that was released just days ago by the Partnership for Transparency. I'd gladly talk with others of you about it, but I wanted to know why it had been missed by the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. There was a question down here, and then question at the back, and then question here. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, hello everyone. My name is Habiba Dahir, and I'm from ALC King's College London. I had a question for Ismail from Somaliland, and you mentioned something about challenges of access to justice. There's also having that long time frame of lack of access to justice in these other areas. Most locals also preferred indigenous justice system. Do you think that impedes the actual justice system, or it also helps to fill that gap on the justice system itself? Thank you.
Okay, there was a question here, yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Akhrar, and I'm a representative of Thinkers Institute on International Law in Organizations, and I'm from Uzbekistan, Central Asia. And I think my question is to Sofia Ramyar. Security in Afghanistan and peace building and peacekeeping is not only an issue for Afghanistan, but it's an issue for Central Asia and for the globe as well. So my question would be, as a representative of your organization, what are the next steps to include not only the Afghan people, but other neighbors of your country as well, like Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, or Kazakhstan?
Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah.
Just a quickly, both Sophia, how old are you? Very impressive, both Sophia, I just want to know.
Okay, so this panel is making me feel old. Yeah. So there's a question there, and then Christina at the back. So I think Matt, yeah. Oh.
Wonderful, thank you so much. I'm Matt, I work for the Mission of Liechtenstein. I have a couple of questions, short questions. One for Ismail from Somaliland. How would recognition help with the implementation of the SDGs in Somaliland? And one for Sophia from the Philippines. What's the impact of the Bangsamoro Organic Law on SDG 16 or vice versa? What's the interaction and what are the challenges? Thank you very much.
Okay, and then I think we'll take two more on this round. Lots of hands, which is good. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Maria Kasumbi. I work with Humanity United. Thank you so much for sharing your stories of how you implement SDGs. I just wanted to find out a question for each one of you, or especially Farjar, who talked about how you're aligning with the government. I just wanted to find out is, when you integrate the SDGs within the national planning process, do you also follow up into the budgeting? Is it also included in the national budgeting process? Thank you.
Okay, and then there was a final question, Christina at the back, and then we'll definitely get to the other hands. I've seen you. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. My name is Christina. I work for Global Partnership for the Prevention of Armed Conflict. Thank you very much for your inspiring stories. So this morning we heard how it is important, the localization of SDGs, and through research that we did together with Justine from Women in Alternative Action, one of the recommendations was that civil society must co-lead in the localization of the SDGs so that they address local priorities and strengthen capacities for peace, inclusion, and justice, involving relevant actors such as government and UN agencies. And my question is, if Justine can share more your experience in of the role of civil society in localization, and also if you can emphasize the role of civil society as actor in oversight and monitoring actor of the implementation. So if you can share more experience on that.
Okay, fantastic. So let's start with Ismail, because there's a couple of questions to you, one about recognition, one about access to justice, but you may also like to speak to some of the other questions, which were about budgeting and national development plan and the localization.
I think I have at least 3, and I am the only male in the panel, so I will take all the time.
No.
I'm joking. The question from my sister from ALC, I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly, right? Yeah, when we're talking about the access to justice, we are talking about SDG16 plus. So we know that we have still a problem in Somaliland and it is limited to the urban areas now. And when you go to the rural areas, sometimes we have some mobile courts, but it still doesn't reach. And sometimes when some conflict happen in the rural areas, instead of going court, because the court is like 200 kilometers or 100 kilometers away from them, so sometimes they fight because they don't have a court. So access to justice is mostly limited to the urban cities, and because of limited resources, because the government's budget mostly goes to security issues and is very limited, and the international support also is limited. That's for the access to justice. When we come to the issue of how the recognition of Somaliland can help the implementation of SDGs, it is because member states were the bodies who are responsible to implement the SDGs. Somaliland, internationally, they are not the ones who sign it, but they take a responsibility at least to implement the SDGs. And that's why they aligned their national development plan with the SDGs, all the SDGs. And also it prioritized, and they take some to be the most priorities. So now we, as a civil society from Somaliland, are reporting the progress of SDG 16 plus. It was the government also to report, but they don't have that access. Only the civil society have the access. So I think if they get that access, they can report to the world what is going on the ground, and they can be accountable if they don't do something. But now they don't have that opportunity. I hope it will come one day. When it comes to the budget and of NDBs in Somaliland, I think nearly $2 billion the estimation is supposed to have to implement the national development plan. But the government's budget is like 420 million, less than $500 million. So you know that there is a big gap. But the government prioritized it, and they said, okay, which are the most important areas we can implement or we can do the job. So that is how the government prioritized it. For other quick comment is the civil society, but the civil society engaged with the government. For example, I think one question was related for how the civil society was engaging with the government. Mostly, we engage the government sometimes because there are some skilled people in the civil society. So we share them with our experience about SDGs and anything else. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ismail. So Justine,